Well, that was Diana Magnay in St. Petersburg. Here in the studio, I'm joined by our military analyst, Sean Bell. Hello to you, Sean.
Afternoon, Bell.
Let's start with almost the hardest thing in this case. What are the facts? What do we actually know for sure?
Yeah, it's always worth redating ourselves when there's lots of conjecture around this. What we know is that it was a private Embraer Legacy 600 aircraft. It was actually this one, which was owned by Yevgeny Prigozhin. There were 10 people on the manifest, 3 crew, 7 passengers, which include Yevgeny Prigozhin and his deputy. The video that's been shown, obviously taken by mobile phone, shows the weather was really good, so that wasn't a factor in the crash. But the crash scene, it was evidently not a survivable accident at all. The radar tracks show that the aircraft was en route from Moscow Airport to St. Petersburg and crashed north of Moscow. And so far, there's been no comment from either the Kremlin or the Russian Ministry of Defence. OK, and what about you with your pilot's hat on? What do you see when you look at these images? The huge caveat, grey-haired, experienced pilot, but when we were on operations, we'd always look for the twirly smoke of surface-to-air missile systems. It looks different than cloud. That's what we're seeing here. It could be an explosion, but it does look far more like a missile. If we look later in the video, there's also smoke streaming from the wreckage of the aircraft, but actually it looks too light to be smoke. It's almost certainly fuel and vast quantities, so there's a catastrophic failure there. If we move forward even further in the video, we now see the aircraft very close to the ground. Now, either the wings come off or a tailplane's come off, and if we look to the next picture that we've got from the crash site, this actually, we thought was a wing, but actually on closer examination, this is part of the tailplane of the aircraft, and it's landed some distance away from the main aircraft itself. So whatever occurred up there severed the tailplane, and of course that made any crash unsurvivable. What caused this? It was not an accident. Either there was a bomb on board and it blew outwards, looks unlikely because there's a very small crash site, or this was a surface-to-air or air-to-air missile which has blown the aircraft up at the back of it and severed the tailplane and made the aircraft completely uncontrollable.
All right, so that's pretty clear on what we do know. Whilst all of that's going on up in the air, down on the ground, we know how important Crimea is to both sides in this conflict. What's been going on there?
Well, we've literally been hearing today from Ukraine that there was a special forces operation by Ukraine against Crimea. They landed in the early hours of the morning, we understand, had some combat on the island. They furled up the Ukrainian flag. They were very proud of this, the first time it's waved over Crimea, and then they vacated again. Now, tactically, so what? They haven't maintained the ground at all. But actually, when you look at this, demonstrates Crimea's vulnerability. It's actually quite a significant size. President Putin will not want to lose Crimea at all. And what it's forcing Russia to do is to decide where it puts its forces. If it reinforces Crimea, it has to take those forces out of occupied Ukraine. If and when it does that, which it certainly will do as a result of this, it weakens Russian defences, which means that when Ukraine does some form of breakthrough, it's more likely to be significant. But this was a really key operation, not just tactically, but also for morale for Ukrainian forces.
All right, really great to get your thoughts. Thank you very much, Sean Bell there.